We continue to follow big news out of London, Ontario. All 5 players involved in the Hockey Canada sexual assault trial have been acquitted. We are standing by with the latest on the ruling, and we have extensive legal reaction.
And Toronto City Council is meeting one last time before breaking for the summer. We're going to tell you more about the contentious conversations around 6 proposed shelters.
Plus, it is another blistering day in the GTA, the beach, exactly where you want to be on a day like this. The Humidex in the plus 40s, prompting Environment Canada to issue another heat warning.
Also tonight, wrestling legend Hulk Hogan is dead at 71. We're going to take a look at the tributes which continue to pour in for the iconic pro wrestling star.
You're watching Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Live at 5. 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team have been acquitted in their sex assault case in London, Ontario.
Superior Court Justice Maria Carroccia delivering her decision today, saying prosecutors could not meet the onus of proof for the charges against Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Alex Formenton, Dylan Dubé, and Cal Foote. The judge also saying the complainant's allegations lack the credibility needed to justify the charges. The case dates back to an encounter in a London hotel room that was June of 2018.
And the Crown prosecutor spoke outside the London courthouse following today's acquittals. Megan Cunningham says they'll review the rulings before deciding on an appeal.
A successful prosecution is not measured solely by whether there are guilty verdicts at the end. The Crown's goal throughout this proceeding has been to see a fair trial, a trial that is fair to the men charged and one that is also fair to EM. A fair trial is one where decisions are made based on the evidence and the law, not on stereotypes and assumptions, and where the trial process respects the security, equality, and privacy rights of the victim as well as the accused persons.
And the lawyer for the complainant talked to reporters following today's acquittals.
She felt there needed to be accountability, but her choice to testify came at a great personal cost. 9 days of testifying was more than she ever expected. Her treatment during cross-examination at times was insulting, unfair, mocking, and disrespectful, none of which was necessary. Yet she maintained her composure and kept her emotions in check, only to be criticized for not acting enough like a victim.
And Michael McLeod's lawyer issued a statement on his behalf today, which criticized Hockey Canada's decision to settle a lawsuit with the complainant prior to the sex assault charges being laid.
For years, public perception was shaped by a one-sided narrative from a civil lawsuit that went unchallenged, in large part because Hockey Canada settled the claim without first informing or consulting the players. The decision was made unilaterally, and the players were only told of the lawsuit and the settlement after the fact. Had they been consulted, they would have refused to settle, and they would have vigorously contested EM's allegations.
Carter Hart's lawyer criticized the Crown for pursuing this case following today's rulings.
Mr. Hart, in particular, was willing to engage in a restorative justice process. He was willing to be publicly named and prepared to use his public platform to teach other athletes about how to ensure that their sexual encounters are responsible and thoughtful. Instead of pursuing restorative justice, the Crown forced a distressing and unnecessary trial to the detriment of Mr. Hart, his co-defendants, the complainant, and the Canadian public.
And our Melissa Duggan's been following this ruling all day long. She joins us live now with our crime analyst, Steve Ryan, with more reaction.
Ultimately, Alina and Bakari, that decision coming from the judge in the case today, not guilty verdicts for all 5 men involved, coming after we heard the judge speaking for hours today inside that London courtroom, giving the reasoning, the analysis behind her decision today. Joining me now is CP24 crime analyst Steve Ryan. You've been watching very closely this case play out. It was a trial that took up some 8 weeks in London, Ontario. I wonder what led up to this trial, because we know that initially charges were not laid in this case, and then they were. Tell me about the reasonable grounds to lay a charge to even bring a case like this forward.
Police need reasonable grounds to believe that a criminal offense has been committed to lay the charge, and that's defined as beyond mere suspicion. That threshold is not that great. To convict in court, in a criminal court, is beyond a reasonable doubt. That threshold is huge. And the practice of cross-examination, that is the fundamental cornerstone of our judicial process, and it is the fundamental test of withstanding or having a test of credibility. And in this particular case, in the judge's ruling, she found that the complainant was not credible, nor was she reliable. So her evidence was problematic for this judge, and this is why she acquitted all 5 of these hockey players. As
we were just hearing from several legal teams after that decision was handed down, they were speaking to media outside of that courthouse. One of the lawyers that we heard from, Doug Humphrey, and David Humphrey, rather, he represents Michael McLeod. He was pointing to and slamming this civil lawsuit, this civil decision that he said the players had no part in, that if they had known that was taking place, they would have pushed back to it. He's claiming that that gave the false impression of guilt in this case, something that we were just discussing as well with criminal defense lawyer Joseph Newberger, and that caught your attention.
It did. In 2018, the London police closed this case, saying that there were no criminal charges to be laid. Then they laid criminal charges without any new evidence, and the officer in charge was asked in court, what new evidence did you obtain to lay these charges? And there was none. So we had a chance to speak with Joseph Newberger, who I respect tremendously. He's a very good and experienced criminal defense lawyer. And he suggested that there may have been political pressure which caused the Crown to have this case go forward and have these criminal charges laid. If that's the case, and I'm not suggesting it is, but if that's the case, they have needlessly put not only these 5 accused through this process, but they put a woman through this process as well, if the Crown believed that there was no reasonable prospect of a conviction. I'm not suggesting that, but this is what's being suggested out in the public when it comes to 2018. No charges laid, then charges were laid without any new evidence. So it will be something that I'm sure will be looked into.
And we did hear from EM's lawyer, the lawyer for the complainant, saying that her client is disappointed with the verdict and also with the judge's assessment of her testimony in this case, calling her testimony not credible and not reliable. Certainly more reaction we are expecting on this to come over the coming hours, the coming days here. This is such a very high-profile trial. And Lena and Bakari, another update we are getting from Hockey Canada. They are saying in a lengthy statement that all players involved are still suspended. Will that change? Something to keep an eye on. Back to you.
Okay, we're going to have more reaction to this with criminal defense lawyer Allison Craig in just moments. So keep it right here on CP24 for the very latest. Melissa and Steve, thank you. It's now 5:08, 33 degrees, feeling more like 42 out there this hour. For more on this sticky Bonnie drive, let's check in with that.
Yeah, it is hot, humid, sticky. And if you don't have AC in your car and you're stuck in traffic, it's going to feel a whole lot stickier. So starting out on the 401 eastbound in particular is where you're going to feel that if you have no AC. We have big problems eastbound 401. This is in the collectors just as you make your way past Yonge Street. Collision involving a few vehicles. It is the 2 left lanes that are occupied. Really slow because it's rush hour and because of this problem from well before Renforth. Then if your travels take you to the Don Valley Parkway, also moving very slowly. No issues, just very jammed from north of Bayview Bloor up towards the 401, and then further north still looking at delays as you make your way in towards Richmond Hill and Markham. Headed towards the Gardner, also jammed as you make your way into and actually exit the downtown core, but fingers crossed, haven't spotted any live lane issues. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
It's 5:09, 33 degrees. This is Live at 5.
It is day 2 of Toronto City Council's last meeting before breaking for the summer, and the location of 6 new shelters in the city, that is up for debate. We'll tell you more about this coming up.
City Council has voted to amend zoning to allow a plan for 6 new shelters to move forward.
CP24's Arda Zakarian joins us live from City Hall with more on the debate around this contentious issue. Arda.
It is, absolutely. Some counselors say that they're worried about the shelters coming into an area being close to daycares. However, one of them actually offered up other areas in the ward that would be better suited. However, this is not up for a public debate. That's according to some city councilors, saying that where a shelter is, you can't say that also kids are in the same area. We all have to live together. And so the city has a big problem, and that is our shelter system is completely collapsed. We saw refugees coming here to this country and then sleeping on the street. And there are so many people that are in need of shelters, and especially in the last few years since the pandemic, that number has skyrocketed, doubled in the last 3-4 years, coming up to 15,000 plus people needing these shelters. So the city has a little bit more of a solution. They have 6 shelters planned for 2030. And what was being discussed today is the zoning of these shelters, for example, the height of these buildings that they're going to build. And this is all in an effort to dismantle the hotel shelters where hundreds and hundreds of people live in the same area, to basically move them into these shorter buildings and have them be better managed. Here's more from some city councilors.
If people aren't sheltered, they're in our parks. They're sleeping in our subways. They're on our streets. That's not good for those individuals. It's not good for our communities. So I actually think that, if you're going to come and complain, you've got to come with solutions as well. What's not acceptable is that there are fellow Torontonians who currently are sleeping on our streets. They're in our parks. They're on our subways. They need help. They need care. They need a path forward in their lives.
City Council has actually done the policy work to make it easier and fairer for people who don't have homes to find a roof through a shelter. We've already done that work. The thing that council can't police is that if some members of council want to dog whistle and rage farm and try to frighten people into, signing their petition so they can use their name politically. It's not a matter of council having failed. It's that some members of council are trying to play with technicalities so that they can build their own profile and by making people angry.
And so this is not just it for the city shelter solution. They're actually going to build 14 more, in addition to the 6 that we said by 2030, 14 more by 2033, having an additional 300 beds in total in the shelter system. So hopefully that will relieve what's going on right now. As for some other topics today, some other motions that were passed, one of them is a cafe TO motion where 2 complaints, for example, from neighbors can't shut down a whole cafe TO. They won't be able to get the permit. They would. It would have to be a larger number of people. And the other motion that passed that was also interesting was Bluffers Park, revitalization of that area. Back to you.
All right, Arda Zakarian inside City Council chambers. Thanks so much, Arda. The mayor speaking there, as you can see in our live shot. 5:15, 33 degrees. You've been watching Live at 5.
WWE has confirmed that wrestling legend Hulk Hogan has died at 71, and police in Florida say officers responded to a call for cardiac arrest. More on this next. Legendary wrestler Hulk Hogan has died at the age of 71.
CP24's Lindsay Biscaya is following reaction to the pop culture icon's passing. She joins us live now with the very latest. Lindsay.
Yeah, and he really was a pop culture icon, Lena and Bakari, stretching much further than just WWE, although he is credited for bringing so much global recognition to the sport, to WWE, and arguably one of the biggest stars in wrestling, particularly in the 80s and 90s. So incredibly sad news today, learning that Hulk Hogan has died at the age of of 71. He was apparently found dead in his Florida home this morning. Now, emergency crews were called there for reports of a cardiac arrest, and then he was pronounced dead in hospital. So we did learn a little bit more in terms of, also his real name, Terry Bollea, in terms of Bollea's condition when he was found, and a little bit more about what exactly happened this morning from police. Here's more. Take a listen.
It was discovered at that time Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical-related issue. Personnel provided medical treatment at that time and transported Mr. Bollea to Morton Plant Hospital, where he died at 11:17 a.m. The Colorado Police Department is conducting a death investigation, which is standard in these types of cases. There are no signs of foul play or suspicious activity related to this call for service at this time.
No surprise, condolences are pouring in from around the world, including from wrestler Jake the Snake Roberts. We've got a post here that says, it's hard to put into words what Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea meant to professional wrestling and entertainment. He may be gone, but his memory and legacy will live forever. Rip Hulkster. Now, Hulk Hogan made headlines in so many different ways over the years, but he also made headlines just last year when he appeared at a campaign rally for Donald Trump. And so condolences also coming in today from Vice President J.D. Vance. We've got a statement from Vice President Vance as well. It reads, Hulk Hogan was a great American icon, one of the first people I ever truly admired as a kid. The last time I saw him, we promised we'd get beers together next time we saw each other. The next time we'll have to be on the other side, my friend. Rest in peace. So a lot of condolences pouring in today. We've got many more as well. And also, we have some connections also in Toronto, Hulk Hogan does. He was here in 2013. I believe we have some video, maybe we can show that, of then Toronto Mayor Rob Ford arm wrestling Hulk Hogan at a fan expo in 2013, which obviously made headlines around Toronto. And we continue to see this video coming up again and again. You can see just the beginning of that here. There it is. There's a former mayor, Rob Ford, the late Rob Ford, arm wrestling Hulk Hogan. So obviously a lot of memories, a lot of condolences coming in today. Lena and Bakari from fans all around the world getting this news today, this tragic news that at the age of 71, Hulk Hogan has died. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Lindsay Biscaya. Thanks a lot, Lindsay. It's 5:20, 33 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, the heat has returned to the GTA. It feels like plus 40 with the humidex out there. And Environment Canada has issued another heat warning. We're going to tell you more next. Welcome back. A heat warning is in effect as the GTA is once again being gripped by some seriously muggy weather.
Yeah, it's 33 right now, but feeling more like 43. For more on how people in the city are coping with the sweltering conditions, let's go live to CP24. Sija Liu, who's at Woodbine Beach. Hey, Sija.
Hey, there is no better place to be than the beach on a hot summer day. A lot of people taking a dip in the water, and parking is quite hard to find. With all these people flocking down here, a heat warning is in effect for the city of Toronto. Like you mentioned, it's 34 degrees, but with that humidity, it feels more like 45 right now. And this heat warning expected to continue into tomorrow as well, but it will be a little bit cooler than 30 degrees, but still feels like 40. And we've been chatting with people here at the beach who've been taking a dip, including these two guys. How are you guys enjoying the heat today? It seems like you like it.
So awesome today. Yay.
What have you been doing? I know you guys were swimming in the water. We met you up here as you were driving off.
Not driving. We took a bus and come here, and then for get tan, and we use sunscreen. No, not sunscreen. Full cream. For get cream. So maybe gonna be very black.
And yeah, we've seen a few people here who are sunburned already, taking advantage of the heat. Well, thanks so much, guys. We appreciate your time today. Also to note, during the heat warning right now, if you want to go swimming, 7 municipal pools are open until almost midnight. 7 across the city. The other pools are open until 8 o'clock tonight. But of course, under a heat warning, important to stay hydrated, drink lots of water, and a good idea to put on some sunscreen as well. And of course, during any heat warning, the city's shelters are open. They've added additional spaces as well as those cooling centers open for anyone to head inside to cool down. But we should note it is quite humid outside, especially because there is also a severe thunderstorm watch this hour. It is just a watch, not a warning right now, but we are tracking a system that could hit Toronto sometime between 8 to 10 p.m. Environment Canada is predicting up to 50 millimeters of rain, so possible localized flooding if you're driving at all. So if you do have any plans tonight, bring an umbrella. And if you do plan on heading to one of those pools that are open a bit later, just be careful. If there is a thunderstorm, you will have to get out early. But in terms of the temperature, we won't really be seeing much relief until the weekend. It'll be the high 20s over the weekend. And Lena Bakari, even tonight, try to keep your AC on if you can. Not a lot of relief with temperatures staying above 20 overnight.
Hey, coming to us live from Woodbine Beach, CP24, Sija Liu. Thanks, Sija. Well, celebrated filmmaker Guillermo del Toro is an honorary Torontonian.
Yeah, Mayor Chow presented him with a key to the city at an event this morning, recognizing his impact on our city's film industry. Del Toro, who even lives in Toronto part of the year, has shot several of his biggest movies here, including Oscar winner The Shape of Water. He often posts online about his favorite spots in the city. He talked about his history in Toronto at the ceremony today. Take a listen.
Look at Toronto right now. It's the ideal city, right? Today and yesterday, everybody is on a bike, everybody is out enjoying life, outdoors life. And right now, with the world the way it's going, Canada and Toronto are a commitment to the possibility of being human.
Mayor Chow talked about the importance of Del Toro's contribution to our city's film industry.
Guillermo's productions have employed hundreds and hundreds of Torontonians in the film industry, technical crew, background performers, actors from every cultural background. And since 2017 and even before, Guillermo has helped put Toronto on the global cinematic map. And today we recognize that impact and thank him for choosing our place as a city, a place to dream, the restaurant that you can eat at, the shop that you can shop at. I followed you so that I can find out even more about our city.
And as part of today's ceremony, Toronto's Scene Space Studios renamed its Marine Terminal campus Guillermo del Toro Stages.
The Blue Jays are in Detroit tonight. This is after winning a key series at home.
And lifts a high fly ball to left. This one's got some carry. It's gone.
Bo Bichette's two-run homer capped off a wild victory as the Jays held off the New York Yankees 8-4. Toronto won the series 2-1 and will now face the Tigers in a Game 4 set in Detroit. The Jays are now tied with the Astros at the very top of the American League, just a half game ahead of the Tigers. Jays manager John Schneider spoke about last night's win in front of another sold-out crowd.
And the Jays have a 4-game lead on the Yankees in the AL East with a record of 60-42. The Red Sox are 6 games behind, is at 55-49, followed by the Rays and the Orioles.
It's now 5:28, 33 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team, they've been acquitted in their sexual assault case in London, Ontario. We continue to follow big news out of London, Ontario. All 5 players involved in the Hockey Canada sexual assault trial have been acquitted. We're standing by with the latest on the ruling, and we have extensive legal reaction.
Toronto City Council is meeting one last time before breaking for the summer. We'll tell you more about the contentious conversations around 6 proposed shelters. This is a live look from inside.
And it is another blistering day in the GTA. The Humidex is in the plus 40s, prompting Environment Canada to issue another heat warning.
Also tonight, wrestling legend Hulk Hogan is dead at 71. We'll take a look at the tributes which continue to pour in for the iconic pro wrestling star.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lena Lattifat.
I'm Bakari Savage. 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team have been acquitted in their sexual assault case in London, Ontario.
Superior Court Justice Maria Carroccia delivering her decision today, saying prosecutors could not meet the onus of proof for the charges against Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Alex Formenton, Dylan Dubé, and Cal Foote. The judge also saying the complainant's allegations lacked the credibility needed to justify the charges. This case dates back to an encounter in a London hotel room in June of 2018.
Well, the Crown prosecutor spoke outside of the London courthouse. This was following today's acquittals.
We want to thank EM for coming forward and for her strength in participating in this process. We have received dozens of messages from people across Canada and abroad asking us to pass along these messages of thanks and support for EM, and we've done so. We will carefully review Justice Carrossia's decision, and as this case is still within the appeal period, we have no further comments to make about the decision at this time.
And the lawyer for the complainant also spoke to reporters following today's acquittals.
I expect many people understand that when a person summons the courage to disclose their story, the worst possible outcome is to feel disbelieved. It's a gutting experience that no one deserves. That's why today's verdict is so devastating. EM did everything in her power to recount her experience honestly and to the best of her ability. She agreed to do everything asked of her by the criminal justice system. She spoke to the police whenever requested. She reviewed her evidence. She prepared her testimony. She answered every question. She spoke with intelligence and from her heart. Yet it was not enough.
And Alex Formenton's lawyer says that the London Police Service, they got it right when they closed the case in 2018 prior to it being reopened.
The evidence always demonstrated that he didn't commit a sexual assault. However, political and media pressure brought this allegation back into the spotlight in 2022, and the Crown attorney knowingly forged ahead with a hopeless prosecution. Besides the human toll to everyone involved, this lengthy legal process exhausted valuable resources that could have been deployed elsewhere in the justice system, but were lost here.
I want to ask Allison about And a group of protesters gathered outside the courthouse this morning. They carried signs in support of the victim, rather the complainant, and chanted slogans calling for justice and denouncing what they call rape culture. A couple of people counter-protested, calling for the accused to be found not guilty.
Well, CP24's Melissa Duggan joins us live in studio. She is continuing our team coverage, joined by crime analyst Steve Ryan.
Yeah, we're continuing to get reaction to this very high-profile trial. The decision just coming out today, not guilty across the board for all 5 of the defendants in this case. CP24's Steve Ryan has been joining me discussing this case and also the investigation that led up to this. Sexual assault, that is what is in the spotlight here today. Tell me about the challenges as officers investigate crimes like this and then lead it into the judicial system. Obviously, as we're seeing it play out today, an emotional trial that we saw happen here, an emotional decision for all those involved.
Probably the most difficult of investigations is investigating a sexual assault. Not only investigating the sexual assault, but then supporting a complainant through the entire process along with the Crown attorneys. But there is no way to prepare a complainant for the experience of cross-examination. Cross-examination is the cornerstone of our judicial system. It's the fundamental way of determining credibility, and it's very difficult to prepare any complainant for cross-examination. And it was through the cross-examination, lengthy cross-examination by these defense counsel, that was part of the reasoning why the judge found today that this complainant was not credible or reliable. Therefore, she acquitted all 5 of those young men.
Some of the latest information we're getting in right now is coming from London Police. The chief of police for London, of course, that is where this trial was held over those last 8 weeks that ended in mid-June. A statement coming from the chief. I want to read part of it. This is just some of what we're hearing today. We remain committed to ensuring that survivors of sexual violence feel supported and safe when interacting with the London Police Service, recognizing the distinct impact trauma can have. It is recognized that incidents of sexual violence continue to be underreported, often because survivors may fear or experience additional trauma within the justice process itself. This includes fear of judgment within their communities and beyond. As chief, I am determined to ensure that our service consistently delivers victim-centered, trauma-informed responses, emphasizing sensitivity, compassion, and public safety. What do you hear in that statement?
It's such an important statement to be put out by the chief of police. It's reassuring others out there who may have been sexually assaulted that to come forward and that they will be treated with respect and dignity. Their information will be taken, an investigation will commence, and if there are grounds to lay charges, charges will be laid. The chief is saying don't let this one case deter you from coming forward if in fact you were a victim.
Do you have any other takeaways from this trial?
This was a difficult investigation. There's a lot of questions still that need to be answered, but it just shows you, first off, the bravery of a person coming forward to stand up and testify. Cross-examination is not fun. And when you testify, though, your credibility is constantly being assessed, whether you are a police officer, a witness, or a complainant or a victim. A judge is always assessing your credibility. And if the judge finds that you are not credible or not reliable, benefit of the doubt has to go to the accused. And this is what's happened in this case.
It sure has. CP24's crime analyst, C. Ryan, we appreciate that. So that's the latest that we're getting in on this. I know we have more reaction coming in this evening as well, Bakari and Lena, as we digest this very high-profile decision in this case. Back to you.
Yeah, a lot of people were watching this very closely. Melissa and Steve, thanks so much for this. Let's get you some more legal reaction right now. Actually, we're going to be joined now by criminal defense lawyer Allison Craig. Allison, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a busy day. You were inside the courtroom in London, Ontario. What did you see? What did you hear? What stood out to you?
Good afternoon. What really stood out to me was how incredibly detailed Her Honor's judgment was. We sat in there for about 5 hours with no lunch break, only a couple of short breaks throughout the day, and she was reading continuously. So what really stood out to me was just how incredibly detailed Her Honor's judgment was. And also,
Ms. Craig, I want to ask you this. You know, after the ruling was delivered, we heard from lawyers for all parties. The lawyer for EM, the claimant, part of what she said was that, quote, she's hopeful that the verdict today is not the end. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't want to speak for EM, but they do have, not they, but the Crown Attorney does have the right to appeal. They have 30 days to decide whether or not they're going to. So she could be referring to a potential appeal, though based on what I heard today, that's, I think, going to be very, very difficult. Or potentially more civil action. I don't know, but it could be one of the two.
We heard from Alex Formanton's lawyer, Allison, who says the London Police Service should have never reopened this case in 2018, that it was media pressure that brought this back into the public spotlight with a hopeless prosecution. Your thoughts on that?
I tend to agree. I mean, having sat through today and really heard all of the evidence, I followed it pretty closely, but heard a full review of the evidence today. It really did seem like an uphill battle, to say the very least, for the Crown. They had a lot of evidence that contradicted what EM said, whether it be video, other witnesses, the Crown's own witnesses, the other players that were there. So I think questions do need to be asked about why this prosecution was reopened.
And you've been there all day. You were posting on social media, you know, even saying that they were in line since 6:30 this morning, can't get into the courtroom. There were 2 overflow courtrooms, and people were getting testy. Can you give us a feel of what the day has been like? Take us there.
People really were getting testy. I mean, you know, there were a lot of sexual assault survivors and supporters here. There were a lot of media here. Tempers didn't flare, certainly, but there was a very high stress level. And it was helped a bit, I think, by Her Honor at the very beginning of her judgment that went on about 5 hours, gave sort of a spoiler and said, I find EM neither credible nor reliable. So everybody sort of knew at that point what the result was going to be. And the tension, I think, lessened a little bit at that point. But certainly from both sides, there was a lot of anticipation and emotional investment.
I want to get your thought on one more thing. We heard from the complainant's lawyer calling these rulings devastating, saying the woman at the center of these allegations feels disappointed and disbelieved, saying her treatment during cross-examinations was at times insulting, unfair, mocking, and disrespectful. I wonder if you have thoughts on what message this may send to other women who are thinking about coming forward with allegations of sexual assaults.
One thing I do want to point out, and of course I understand why EM would feel that way, but one of the things that really struck me at the very beginning of Her Honor's judgment, she made a specific reference to the cross-examinations, and I guess because there's been a lot of sort of public discourse about it, and she specifically said that they were there was absolutely nothing inappropriate about any of them, and she made that very clear right at the beginning. So I think that's important for the public to understand, because there has been a lot of scrutiny of the cross-examinations. But obviously it is hard. Like Steve Ryan said, it's sort of the litmus test in any test or in any trial, and that's cross-examination. So it's never going to be fun. I do think it was important that the chief of police came out and spoke out afterwards. And, the Crown Attorney spoke about how many letters and messages of support that they had received for EM. So I hope that at least does give sexual assault victims some support or comfort if they want to come forward. But I was pleased to see that Her Honor found nothing wrong at all with the cross-examinations.
Okay, criminal defense lawyer Allison Craig, thank you for your time and insight this evening.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much for this. It's now 5:43, 33 degrees out there. You're watching Live at 5.
It's day 2 of Toronto City Council's last meeting before breaking for the summer. The location of 6 new shelters in the city that's being discussed at City Hall. We're going to take you live there next. Well, City Council has voted to amend zoning to allow a plan for 6 new shelters to move forward.
And this is proving to be quite the contentious issue. CP24's Arda Zakarian joins us live from City Hall with more on the debate. Arda.
Contentious because some people are nervous about shelters coming into their community. One councillor in particular was talking about it being very close to a daycare. He offered some other options of other areas in the city or in his ward specifically that the shelter can be better suitably placed. However, some other city councillors have been saying this is not up for a public debate. Shelters need to intertwine, integrate with the city. It doesn't matter if it's next to a daycare or next to any other school. So we had a chance to hear from some councillors about this. Take a listen.
This is where there needs to be greater communication and work between council staff and the community. Is what is the nature of the operation? What are the nature of the clients coming in? And this stuff hasn't been worked out and needs to be more holistic and comprehensive in how they interact with the local council and the community. What is the profile of, and we have a range, we know that, right? But that hasn't been ascertained, or that confidence hasn't been given to local communities.
I think residents should be consulted and they should be asked about what they think before the city makes commitments on these particular projects. Otherwise, they really do have no say at the end of the day because the city's just going to push forward.
These 6 new shelters are going in place today. They were just talking about the specific zoning of the building itself, but this is all part of the city's plan to help with the shelter issue in our city, which is broken right now. We've seen refugees coming to our city, fleeing their country, and then sleeping on the streets here because there's no room in the shelters. So 6 new shelters, they are slated to be built by 2030, and then 14 more by 2033. The city has had so many people needing homes, needing a place to stay, needing these shelters. It started off with about 7,000 in 2021, and in about 3 years, that doubled. So now the number's around 15,000, 16,000 people that need places to stay. So this is all in an effort to combat that. And we've seen the city also turn to hotels, turning hotels into shelters. So they're going to try to move away away from that and instead having them as lower rise buildings. Back to you.
All right, Arda Zakarian live at Toronto City Hall. Thanks so much for this, Arda. It's 5:48, 33 degrees, but feeling more like 43 out there tonight. You're watching Live at 5.
WWE has confirmed wrestling legend Hulk Hogan has died at 71. And police in Florida say officers responded to a call for cardiac arrest. More on this next.
Welcome back. Legendary wrestler Hulk Hogan has died.
Yeah, Hogan, whose real name is Terry Bollea, is arguably the biggest star in the history of world wrestling entertainment. He was the main draw for the first WrestleMania. That was in 1985 and was a fixture for years, facing everyone from Andre the Giant and Randy the Macho Man Savage to The Rock and even company chairman Vince McMahon.
Hulkamania swept far beyond the ring. He became a box office draw, had several TV shows, and was always a headliner at fan expos, including here in Toronto in 2013, when this iconic moment happened. This is when he arm wrestled the late Rob Ford. WWE says it's saddened to learn of the passing of the Hall of Fame wrestler and gave him credit for helping the company gain global recognition. And police in Clearwater, Florida, say he was pronounced dead in hospital this morning after going into cardiac arrest. He was 71 years old. Here's more from police, who say there is no reason to believe there's anything suspicious about Hogan's death.
It was discovered at that time Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical-related issue. Personnel provided medical treatment at that time and transported Mr. Bollea to Morton Plant Hospital, where he died at 11:17 a.m. The Clearwater Police Department is conducting a death investigation, which is standard in these types of cases. There are no signs of foul play or suspicious activity related to this call for service at this time.
In reaction to Hulk Hogan's death is pouring in. Wrestler Jake the Snake Roberts posted to social media. It's hard to put into words what Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea meant to professional wrestling and entertainment. He may be gone, but his memory and legacy will live forever. R.I.P. Hulkster.
And Vice President J.D. Vance writes, Hulk Hogan was a great American icon, one of the first people I ever truly admired as a kid. The last time I saw him, we promised we'd get beers together next time we saw each other. The next time will have to be on the other side, my friend. Rest in peace.
It's 5:53, 33 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, the heat has returned to the GTA. It feels like plus 40 with the humidex out there. And the beach is exactly where you want to be on a night like this. We'll tell you more about Environment Canada's heat warning right after this.
Okay, so it's 33, feeling more like 43 outside. Oof. With that, a heat warning is in effect. The GTA is once again just being gripped by some seriously muggy weather.
For more on how people in the city are coping with the sweltering conditions, let's go live to CP24's Sija Liu at Woodbine Beach. You have the best assignment of the day, Sija.
Yeah, all I'm missing is a swimming suit to go in the water, but lots of people heading down to the beach. You can say everyone here at the beach is a fan of the heat. The parking lots are jammed, some traffic in this area as people are flocking down here in the midst of a heat wave. It is in the 30s right now, but with the humidity, it feels more like 45, but this is the hottest it's going to get. Temperatures will cool down a little bit tomorrow, but let's talk to some folks and see how they're feeling about the heat. This is Alam and his family. They're actually visiting from London, England. So how do you feel about coming to Toronto and then you're hit with all this heat?
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, basically I'm come from England for the 2 weeks holiday. My family there, so I spend with my family time. The heat is very good, better than UK. I love the beach, it's really nice. The water is clean and the seaside is really nice and a lot of people. And the people I love the people as well.
So for you, is this the perfect temperature?
Yes, definitely, yeah. I like it.
Let me ask you, so what did you do to enjoy the heat today? Did you go swimming?
Yeah, I like it, and it's so, watery, and I like it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your heat over there. So in terms of the heat, it will cool down a little bit tomorrow, but not much, a high of 30 degrees, but still going to feel like 40 with the humidity. And then this weekend, a bit of relief. It's still going to be in the high 20s. But one thing to watch out for tonight is a severe thunderstorm watch. So we're tracking a system that might hit Toronto sometime between 8 to 10 o'clock. That could bring wind gusts of up to 90 kilometers an hour. hail as well as thunderstorms. So if you plan on heading to any of the pools in Toronto, especially the 7 that are open late until 11:45 p.m. tonight, just be careful, bring an umbrella, and have a plan to stay dry in this heat when that thunderstorm possibly rolls through later in the day. But for now, Lena, Bakari, a lot of people here just enjoying the heat, not so much worried about this possible thunderstorm later. I'll send it back to you.
DJ, I was just going to ask, speaking of beating the heat, how big is the crowd out there?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, even in the parking lot area, you're circling 3-4 times just to even get a spot. So most people, they've had to park quite a bit away and walk in and then take a dip in the water to cool down.
All right, Sija, thanks so much. The beach, exactly where you want to be on a day like this. You're watching Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.